Earth Day is April 22nd, and it's the perfect day to highlight some of the work Johnson County government is doing to help protect our environment. Learn about how we design and construct buildings, manage our vehicle fleets, and find innovative solutions to challenges, all with a focus on sustainability.
Whether you live in or just love Johnson County, Kansas, JoCo on the Go has everything Johnson County. Here's what's happening and what's coming up in the community you call home.
Thanks for joining us for JoCo on the Go. I'm Jody Hanson, your host and also a Johnson County resident and employee of Johnson County government. One of Johnson County government's core values is stewardship, the idea that individually and collectively, we're building a better community today and for future generations. We take seriously our responsibility to protect the economic, environmental, and human resources we have available to us. Across county government, every day, employees are focusing on the sustainability of our own business practices, as well as the buildings we operate and build and the communities we serve. Joining us today are some of those employees. Brian Alferman is Johnson County Government Sustainability Program Manager. Kyle Heltney is an Assistant Division Director of Planning, Design, and Construction. And we also have Chris Butler, who manages our fleet vehicles. Thanks to all of you for being here today.
Thanks, Jody.
Thank you for having us.
So, Brian, let's start with you. People might not be aware that Johnson County government even has a staff position of Sustainability Program Manager. So let's start by hearing about your position and some of your responsibilities.
Sure. Well, I might be a little bit biased, but in my opinion, I have honestly one of the best jobs in all of Johnson County government. As Sustainability Manager, my role is to lead the sustainability efforts of the county, act as an internal consultant to all county departments. And part of that responsibility is to convene our sustainability committee, which is comprised of leaders of the county's largest departments. And that's where we set priorities. That's where we identify collaboration opportunities, where we share resources to make how we do what we do more sustainable. And that's not just from an environmental sustainability perspective, which is where most people's minds instinctively go, but we also aim to be more economically and socially sustainable as well. But I think the best part of my job is, and maybe arguably the most important, is working with other staff at the county in their areas of expertise. And you'll hear from others here in a few minutes, but they are really, really good at what they do. And I get to bring a sustainability angle to their work to say, reduce waste or energy consumption or save money by finding efficiencies with other departments. But just simply being a resource for the important work that goes on every day in Johnson County is a great use of my time and energy.
And I think there you just kind of spoke of some of the focus areas that the Sustainability Committee is currently working on, reducing waste or saving energy. Do you have any specific examples of some efforts where the county has focused on?
Sure. Well, over the last couple of years, really, we've been focused on leading by example and by getting our own house in order. And it helps, we always talk about it, helps to think about who we are as an organization. And within Johnson County, Johnson County government is a top 5 major employer. We are a major landowner. We are a major energy user, mostly because we operate a major utility in Johnson County wastewater. And that leaves a lot of responsibility, but it also allows for a lot of opportunity to impact the use of our resources, whether those are land resources, water resources, human resources, and so on. But just a couple of ways we gauge how we fit into the larger Johnson County community. We, the Lead for Cities certification program, which we are proud to have just achieved gold level in, only the 25th local government in the world to achieve the certification. It benchmarks our community in areas like natural systems and transportation and quality of life. And then we're also completing the first community and operations greenhouse gas emissions inventory in nearly 8 years, which will help guide our efforts in targeting emissions reduction specifically. And then the Board of County Commissioners just last summer, late summer, endorsed the Kansas City Regional Climate Action Plan, which puts our work, our current and future work, in a climate protection context. and also, maybe more importantly, aligns our work with what others are doing in the Kansas City region.
It's nice to know that we're part of that larger effort in our metro area with this focus on sustainability. Kyle, I know that you're a part of some of the major multi-million capital projects that the county has built in recent years, things like the new courthouse, and before that, the medical examiner's facility. So when it comes to construction of county buildings, how do we focus on sustainability? How do our efforts, what do they look like with capital projects?
Yeah, great question, Jody. In facilities, sustainability is always at the forefront of how we design, construct, and even looking past those two phases, operate our building. So kind of that whole lifespan of a building that we see in front of us. So there are industry standards out there that are recognized worldwide, like leadership in energy and environmental design, also known as LEED, which Brian just spoke to there a little bit ago from the community aspect. There's also the International Well Building Institute. And both of these worldwide standardization provide us frameworks and ranking systems that facility uses as we start the very beginning of design of our buildings, and as I already mentioned, construction of our buildings, and then leading into the operation of our buildings. So some of the main elements that we facilities look at when we're working on these projects are energy efficiency, water usage, air quality, and choice of building material. Those are kind of some of the bigger ones that encompass this effort. There's many more to it than that, but those are some of the larger ones. So that's kind of how we focus our efforts when we look at these larger capital projects or any capital project or any project for that matter, Jody.
And so I would think that, there's a lot of benefits to that, not only saving energy, which saves money, but also just benefits to the community at large. I guess, could you talk a little bit about the why? Why are we focused on sustainability measures with our buildings?
Yeah, so I would say there's also the social aspect of it. There's the healthy mind, healthy person aspect of designing and building structures around this thought process. I would also, just like to, you touched on the energy component of it. I touched on the mind component of it. So those are two of some of the main ones that come to my mind right now.
And then I know it's not only building buildings, but in some cases we need to take down buildings. And so we did that pretty recently. After we opened the new courthouse, it was time to take the old courthouse down. And I know that sustainability was on your mind with that project. So tell us about the results there.
Yeah. So to tell you the truth on that one, it was a little surprising for me. It was the demolition of the building was more involved than I imagined. I thought once the new courthouse went up, the old courthouse will come down, but it was a lot more involved in that, and especially from a sustainability standpoint. So some of the items that we looked at before demolishing the building is we went through an extensive inventory process, looking at articles or items within that building, and then measured if they could be repurposed in another county facility or put in our warehouse for storage for future use or recycled. So there was that component of the items that were in the building. And then there was also the recycling component. And there was some large pieces of equipment, mechanical, electrical, plumbing equipment within the facility that we could recycle. There was also some historical valuable items that we were able to pull out of the building, select pieces of marbles, some original light fixtures, some items that had some really neat stories behind them that we partnered with Johnson County Museums on that effort as well. So some of the big numbers, though, that are kind of eye-popping to me when we look back at the demolition of the courthouse is that there was approximately 11 million pounds of brick, concrete, and metal that were demolished through the demolition process. And of that 11 million, approximately 75% of the materials were recycled in various ways or diverted from a landfill, Jody.
That's a great result. That's a great number to hear that such a small amount had to go in the landfill, and we were able to repurpose or recycle all those other materials. That's great work. Taxpayers in the county should feel good about that, I would say.
Yes.
So, Chris, let's talk to you a little bit about vehicles. So, just in recent years, we've been hearing more about hybrid or electric vehicles, whether it's car commercials, or maybe we know people who have made that purchase, made that switch. So, when it comes to the county and our fleet of vehicles, what is our thought on sustainability with our fleet?
Sure. Well, thank you for having me. I really do appreciate this. This is something that I have a lot of passion behind. Well, you mentioned that, recently there's been more discussion, especially with electric vehicles coming more to the forefront of the automotive industry. Sustainability in vehicles is something that the county has been focused on, or at least acknowledging and trying to do our part with for many, many years. We currently have, we push somewhere between 450 and 500 on-road vehicles, light, medium, and heavy-duty vehicles at any given time right now in our fleet. And of those, 109 of those vehicles fall under the Department of Energy's definition of alternative fuel vehicles. And while electric is what's right now at the forefront, our vehicles include flex fuel vehicles that can run off of E85, other types of fuels, compressed natural gas vehicles, which we've made some significant investment in infrastructure in the past, hybrid electric vehicles, which are gas and electric. And then now we are starting to move towards the EVs, as a lot of the population in America is right now. In terms of EVs, we currently have one fully electric vehicle that is in our fleet, but we have 4 others that are on order, and we're following along with that. We're also working with our planning design group within facilities to identify places that we can put in electric vehicle charging and try and have impact for kind of what we like to call behind the fence fleet vehicles. So not necessarily public charging, but charging stations for our own fleet vehicles, so that we can actually put those vehicles out into use and know that we can charge our own vehicles for our use behind the fence. So that is what we're doing. And in terms of what we have going on for a sustainability plan, we are continuing to develop that. And I'm working with Brian Alferman, who spoke earlier, with Department of Health and Environment. And we're trying to make sure that we do align with the Regional Climate Action Plan, with best practices that are going on around the country, and trying to make sure that we identify some measurable, define measurable benchmarks that we can see where we're at today, see where we're at tomorrow, and where we want to go in the future.
I was wondering about the county employees who drive those vehicles, who operate those vehicles. Is there any kind of a learning curve, or do you get any kind of a reaction from them when they're switching to that kind of vehicle? Tell us a little bit about the reaction you get from staff.
We really haven't had that much impact. When it is something like a compressed natural gas vehicle, where the fueling of that vehicle is a little bit different, we do try and make sure that we have training for those individuals who are going to be operating those vehicles, so that they understand the dynamics of what it takes to do that. EVs, again, as we start to pull more fully electric vehicles in, we will do that same type of training. And our hope is to find places where we can expose more people. Right now they're assigned, the EV we have is assigned to an individual. What we want to do is we want to get them out more into our workforce, so more people have exposure to them, normalize the EVs and the EV process and what it takes, just to kind of educate and help kind of expand that knowledge base on what it means to drive an EV or an alternative fuel vehicle.
And you mentioned compressed natural gas, or CNG. And I can remember a few years ago being at a ribbon cutting for a CNG fueling station. I think it was a partnership between the county and the city of Olathe. And so I was just curious, what is the status of that facility and what is it used for?
You bet. We currently have 3 CNG stations within the county. The one that you were speaking of was a cooperative project between the city of Olathe and Johnson County. It is the facility kind of straddles two property lines, one with the City of Olathe and one with our transit department. That site is utilized primarily for fueling of transit on the county side of transit vehicles and buses. And on the Olathe side, it is fueling their trash fleet and any other vehicles that they have. It also serves as redundancy, which means that we basically have another CNG station right across the street. If there were any operational issues with either one of those facilities, we're able to back each other up. So we have a full-time facility operating on both sides of the street, and we can always make sure that those critical services like transit and like trash can get fuel, and we can feel comfortable with those vehicles using an alternative fuel like compressed natural gas. One of the really exciting things that we started doing in 2021 is we actually partnered. We found that we had an opportunity to utilize our infrastructure a little bit to expand the use. We had capacity in our ability to fuel vehicles. We found a partner in the City of Olathe, in the Olathe School District, and they have converted 30 of their buses for student buses to compressed natural gas, and we are now utilizing our station to fuel those buses as well. So not just our fleet, but also helping out within the community, and we're really excited to be able to do that.
Yeah, it's always nice to hear about these partnerships where different organizations can share a resource, so there's not that redundancy where every jurisdiction would need its own fueling station. I mean, it's nice that that's being shared. It seems like a great example of collaboration.
Yeah, it really is. And it's been a great partnership, and I feel very good about it. Just like with our City of Olathe partnership, we all work so well together and we appreciate each other. And it's been very good so far.
Well, I guess my last question is really for all of you. If you each want to answer this one, why is it important that you work for an organization like Johnson County Government who really emphasizes sustainability and stewardship and protecting of our resources? What does that mean to you as an employee?
Well, I'm happy to start with that one. As somebody with sustainability program manager in their title, I'm very appreciative that the county takes this very seriously. But honestly, there is a tremendous amount of pride that the local county government in the county that I live in has a sustainability program and a sustainability manager. I've spent a whole career in sustainability, and I've gone all over the country and all over the world doing projects in this arena. I underappreciated the impact of working in my own backyard. And working on projects that were funded by my own taxes, projects that I could drive my kids by and say I had an impact on. It is tremendously, with a tremendous amount of pride that I feel Johnson County takes this seriously enough to have this program, and that's honestly just the way I feel about it. And it's part of our pillars of performance. It's part of our organization. It's part of who we are. There are only 3 positions like mine in the whole Kansas City region as a sustainability manager, and Johnson County has one. So to give you a sense of the level of commitment that Johnson County has to it, it's rare and it's much appreciated.
Yeah, I can go next there. Sorry about that, Chris. Didn't mean to step on you there.
No, go for it.
So I kind of go back to a quote or a line that I heard a while back, and I heard it when I started with Johnson County, and it's leave it better than the way we found it. And so this really resonated with me and my role here with Johnson County with the planning, design, and construction division, and taking the opportunity to really look to create buildings in a way that will not negatively impact the future, the future moving forward. And it's really fun and interesting to work on those type of projects. It brings a lot of pride. I think, as you guys drive around, you can see some of the buildings that we have created. There's a long list of them out there that fall under this definition. So, yeah, that's where I find joy in this, Jody.
Yeah, and I'm going to mirror some of what Brian said in terms of being within an organization that cares about the community. I think it's important that that we're all aware and knowledgeable and responsible with what we're taking care of today and what we're taking care of for our community tomorrow. Brian talked about his position being one of 3 in the metropolitan area. I think it's also important that the county's seen the responsibility of investing in somebody who can take care of that, making sure that we're taking measurable approaches to the things that we're doing, and just being responsible in the approach that we have towards sustainability, both now and in the future. And I'm very proud to be part of an organization that values everything that we do.
Brian, Kyle, and Chris, thanks so much for joining us today and talking about the work we're doing in the area of sustainability. It's a great way to honor Earth Day. And in addition to all of that and more that we're doing internally, there are many ways that we offer our public and our residents to be more sustainable. We've got several programs, things like recycling assistance. We've got a household hazardous waste facility, a green business program, and that is just to name a few. The best place to learn about these programs and services is on our website. You can go to jocogov.org/sustainability and find out ways that you can maybe try something new in honor of Earth Day. Thank you so much for listening.
You just heard JoCo on the Go. Join us next time for more Everything Johnson County. Have a topic you want to discuss? We want to hear from you. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter at JoCoGov. For more on this podcast, visit jocogov.org/podcast. Thanks for listening.